Hello, it's another amazing, fantastic episode of your favorite news and current affairs program on TV. It's today's review and I'm your host, Ray Osazwa. We've got loads and loads to talk about. But before we do that, like we'll do on the program, we'll show you tidbits from our feature story segment. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Welcome back. I've got someone in the studio who used to be my favorite person on the program. She's been away, but I'm so happy to have her back. Stella?
Great to be back. I've missed it.
Welcome. Welcome. Good to have you here. Before we progress, we would quickly go to Fiona, who's going to take the front page headlines. Fiona?
Hello, Ray. Good morning. Well,
Fiona.
today on the front page headlines, we've got very interesting stories, and Jeremy Corbyn seems to have provoked widespread criticism from the media. Right here on the Times newspaper, it reads, "Veterans open fire after Corbyn snubs anthem." As right here, it says Jeremy Corbyn has refused to sing the national anthem.
But what is that about, him not wanting to sing the national anthem?
Well, according to his defense, he has said that he stood in respectful silence when the national anthem was being sung by his fellow MPs during the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Britain anniversary. So, on the Independent newspaper, it says, "Is there a spin doctor in the house?" Jeremy Corbyn has provoked criticism from his fellow MPs as well. It's right here on the Independent, and also on the Daily Telegraph, it says, "Corbyn snubs Queen and country. The new Labour leader refuses to sing national anthem at Battle of Britain anniversary service." And it's right here on the front page newspapers. All the front page headlines have carried the story.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Yes, Jeremy Corbyn. He has received lots of criticisms lately. If you want more details about that, you can go to your newsstands and grab your papers.
Thank you, Fiona. Quickly, we would delve into all that we've got to, talk about today. Stella, we start with cancer patient Aisha King returns to Prague. Last year, about this time, October, November last year, we were looking at this situation when Aisha King's parents actually took the laws into their hands and just grabbed their child and went all the way to Spain. They were arrested. Some people thought they didn't have a right to do that. They should have waited for the doctors to let them do that. But they thought they had researched their child's illness, and if the child could get better treatment outside of the UK, no one was going to stop them from doing that. Today we're bringing you updates on that one. And this report actually says that Aisha King, whose parents sparked Europe-wide manhunt when they took him out of the UK to seek cancer treatment abroad, has returned to Czech capital for a check on his progress. The report further goes on to say that the director of the Proton Therapy Center, he clearly has said that Aisha's case has inspired interest in the treatment from both patients and doctors. He said, according to the doctors, Aisha is doing well, and doctors at the Proton Therapy Center in Prague are keen to see their young patient from year to year. But Aisha's case has just, blown things open. Other families from different parts of the world who their child, someone they know, is having similar illness as Aisha, everyone is heading to Prague for the treatment. It would suffice one to say that Aisha's parents actually made the best decision.
Yes,
at the
of course.
time.
They definitely made the best decision for their child, you know. Like you can see from the news, the child has actually radically improved, where he had an operation last year in UK over this, and the brain tumour recurred again. And, you know, Aisha's parents were disappointed, they were upset and devastated, and they went where they thought they would get the best treatment, and they definitely did the best thing for their child. And in fact, now more Britain children are actually going there to Prague to get this treatment, which is amazing. It just shows.
It's amazing. We're going to watch a short clip of Aisha. I mean, the improvement is fantastic to see. The treatment that the family were going to get here in the UK would have impeded on the child's sight and hearing. But clearly Aisha is fine. He can see well, he can speak, he can hear, and actually just 2 days ago when they got to Prague, a test was carried out and they said his hearing was perfect. It's a miracle. Let's watch that clip.
Yeah, he's improved a lot since we've been here. When we came here, he was just really lying on his bed, not doing much movement. But he's really come on a lot since then. And the more movement he makes, the more it makes him want to move even more. So, for example, when he was moving his leg, it was just twitching or just moving. But now, it's moving so much more. He can walk with support. The steps are a little bit exaggerated, you know, like a robot, but he's really coming on a lot. Well, you always hope as a parent that your child is going to have a miraculous improvement, but it's really exceeded our expectations, because reality kicks in, really, that when you see someone that you love, your son, in a bed and he can't even blink, you think, wow, where's this all going to lead? And you see, even after a month, he's not moving much. So it slowly brings your expectations down. You know, what can I expect? What improvement can I get for my son? But in the last few months, he's really becoming strong. He's becoming more sociable. He's happier as a person. And just physically, you know, he's making so much improvement now. And it seems like he reaches one stage. You think, wow, that's amazing. Now he's talking and putting nice sentences together. He's walking a little bit by himself, and then he surprises you the next day by doing something even more. So, and we're just thankful that we did the research and we chose a treatment that was less aggressive than the one they were going to give to us, because I would hate to think, you know, with that treatment, where would we be today?
It's amazing because of the condition that it was after surgery and a year later, and not having to suffer too much side effect from treatment. So we're really happy. Recently, 2 days ago, he had a hearing test, and they said his hearing is perfect. With the treatment he was going to receive in England, he would have lost his hearing and he would have lost his sight. So why go through that if you can save his hearing and his sight?
The medical profession, well, really just Southampton, extremely unhappy with the decision we made. It's always difficult putting yourself in other people's shoes. You know, what went through their mind. They were looking after Asha. Then, without any notice from us, Asha's no longer there. And they tried to contact us on our phones. We'd switched those off deliberately. So, being in their shoes, you know, Asha had just recently been through surgery. So, perhaps, you know, anybody would have done the same. So we can't criticize them for doing that.
Amazing, fantastic progress. We just wish Aisha King and his family further recovery. You know, the report says that he's going to start school gradually. They want to try to introduce him to a few hours in school, and by the time they see how he's progressing, then maybe soon enough they would let him have a full day at school. Okay, quickly we'll move on to our next story. It's one titled 14-year-old schoolboy Ahmed Mohammed arrested after taking homemade clock to school. According to the report, a teenager has been arrested and could face charges of making a hoax bomb after his teachers thought his homemade clock looked like an explosive device. According to the report, the 14-year-old teenager actually made a clock, a circuit board and power supply wired to a digital display stuffed inside a hologram briefcase. What is beautiful about the story, or not beautiful but innocent about the story, is that he made the clock and brought it into school to show his engineering teacher. In other words, this young boy had invented something and he thought, I'll take it to school and show it to the science teacher. And from all indication, he was probably expecting some praise to say, wow, you've invented something beautiful, but that was not the case. What do you make of this story, really?
Okay, first of all, I would say it's absurd for the teachers to expect a young 14-year-old boy to commit a crime so terrible.
No, but I mean, we've seen things like that. There's been a lot of terrorism all around the world.
We know that there's been terrorism,
and people can use anybody. We heard of situations in Africa, specifically in Nigeria, where the Boko Haram people actually used innocent-looking girls, you know, to detonate bombs everywhere. So, in that light, you may not necessarily blame the school for taking action the way that they did.
Okay, but my point is that they should have looked at his previous history, and in his previous school, he was involved in robotic competitions. So he's in engineering class, and the fact that he brought into school to show his teacher should show that, okay, in fact, he had his intentions were innocent.
Yeah, which was what initially I called that beautiful, and I said it was innocent, because someone who had intention of probably blowing up the school, because at the end of the day they said they thought he brought a bomb into school. Someone with that intention would probably hide that away in his bag, but he brought this out and took it to his science teacher.
But one thing I can say is that they should have looked at his history, who he is as a person, and in fact apparently he's a very intelligent young boy. So to expect that from him, if I personally believe it was racism. Other people who have criticized this issue believe it's racism, the fact that he's from a Muslim background, because if it was a white person, you'll probably think twice. But because it was instantly a Muslim person, automatically in America, you automatically think, okay, terrorism. Blame the school or the police for thinking, since that there's so much terrorism, like you said, all over, but they should have thought twice, especially because he's still underage.
Okay, we will talk a bit more about this, but before we do, let's just watch a short clip of how little Ahmed Mohammed felt. In his words, he actually said he felt that he was treated like a criminal, and that really touched me to hear a 14-year-old say that. We'll watch that clip, and when we come back, Stella, we'll talk a bit more about how in your opinion, how you feel about the way this young boy was treated. Let's watch the clip.
My hobby is to invent stuff, and I do a lot of stuff. For example, inventing this type of stuff. Right here, Transformers, you get what I'm saying here. But I made a clock. It was really easy. I wanted to show her something small at first, but they took a wrong point of it and they thought it was a bomb, so I got arrested for a hoax bomb. An officer and the principal came and took me up, and they took me to a room filled with 5 officers, which they interrogated me and searched through my stuff and took my tablet and my invention. And then later that day, I was taken to a juvenile center detention center where they searched me. They took a fingerprint and mugshots of me, and they searched me until my parents came, and then I got to leave the building and the station. And I went home and talked to my parents about it because I couldn't call my parents during the interrogation until I got to the station. It was a digital clock, and the digital display had four number lines on it. A number line of hour and a number line of minutes. And the clock was made in a metal case, a metal box, and I put the circuit board in there with the digital display in there with it. And I put it in place, and I showed my teacher, and it got to the point where I was arrested. But it was made, and I closed it with a cable. So, because I didn't want to lock it to make it seem like a threat, so I just used a simple cable. So it won't look that much suspicious. And they, the clock itself, it was in a box you could get at Target for like $5, $10. And they were telling me it's a suitcase, briefcase. You were like, a movie bomb, which is what they were charging me of. No, I never said anything about, I have a bomb, never. It made me feel like I wasn't human.
Okay, Stella, clearly you heard the young boy. Now, they will not let a minor access to his parents during investigation process. We're talking about a 14-year-old here. Isn't that a serious violation of a minor's civil right? I'm asking you that because you are a lawyer, you know, as well. So, based on the law, are you supposed to, interrogate a 14-year-old without him having access to his parents?
Okay, first of all, no, you are not meant to interrogate a minor who's involved.
They took his fingerprints.
No.
They took him to a juvenile detention center. I thought that was a bit too much.
Yeah, it was extreme. Even when it comes to questioning, no matter when it comes to questioning, the parents must be there at all times when questions are being thrown at them. And it was wrong and it was illegal for the police to be questioning him while his parents were not there, and in fact not to even contact them. They had no contact whatsoever with the police. As soon as he went to the station, his parents should have been contacted immediately, with immediate effect. And if I was his parents, I would take this further. I would take this further and do something about it, because they are in breach of their rights.
For me, I'm looking at it from, the angle that this would discourage a very talented child. I hope he doesn't feel discouraged, because this is not the first time he's inventing something. He says it's his hobby to invent things, and he did this one with so much glee, joy. I mean, if I take this to my teacher, he would be proud of me. And he was actually thinking that if it was good enough, he could probably put it out there, put the clock out there for sale for about $5 or something like that. But in return, he gets arrested for it. I just hope kids like that, smart children like that, don't get discouraged as a result of something like this.
It's a very unfortunate thing to happen to such a young boy, but hopefully we just pray that he gets through it and overcomes it.
Okay, quickly we'll move on to another story. This one is titled "A Wake-Up Call for Gospel Artists." Now, before we even delve into that, I'm going to ask you a question, which is more or less like a question of the day. In your opinion, are gospel, artists giving into pressure of the holy word, to maintain their relevance? Do you think so? We are taking this story today because of something that we saw just over the weekend happen during the X Factor competition that's ongoing right now. We saw a group of gospel singers come in, but instead of them to actually be themselves and showcase who they truly are, they opted for something else, which didn't really work out. So the question is, do you feel the gospel artists are giving into to some sort of pressure? Do you think they feel, if I am myself, I will not be accepted?
Just like any Christian, there's always pressure. So whether or not you're in music or not, you will still always get that pressure of, I'm still trying to fit in, but at the same time, I still want to show that I'm a Christian through my music and so on. And the video you're talking about, I did watch it, and it's true, there was that pressure to fit in with the others who are making music just so that they can be recognized. But at the same time, it is important that we still show who we are. So there is a pressure, definitely, a big pressure.
Watching that, we're going to, we have an excerpt from the video. We're just going to show that so that if we've got viewers who probably didn't catch the show during the weekend, they have a clue of what we're talking about. Now, what felt painful about that video was the fact that the judges are clearly not Christians, that they were the ones who reminded somewhat the girls of who they are, because after the first performance, so to say, it was like a no-show. The judges were very disappointed by the singing, and one of the judges clearly said, why don't you show us who you truly are. You girls are gospel artists. I thought that felt painful, that someone who wasn't a Christian would be the one to remind the girls of who they truly were. Yeah, I actually felt embarrassed for them, and the fact that you had Rita Ora and Simon Cowell telling you what you should already know, and it just shows that the anointing is what works for you, that it's the anointing that works for you once you're born again, once you're in Christ. And if you're moving out of that, that light that is meant to shine will not shine. And that's exactly what we saw with these gospel singers. Okay, we're going to watch the short excerpt from the competition over the weekend, and when we come back, we will speak a bit more about how that, as a Christian, it doesn't matter, like you said, it doesn't matter what profession, whether you're a musician or whatever it is, you've got a message, and every time as a Christian, that must be really heavy on your mind. It comes across like you are ashamed of the gospel, and as a Christian, it ought not to be. So we'll watch the clip, and when we come back, we'll talk a bit more.
I'm gonna kill it.
Hi, girlies.
Hello. Hi.
What's your name?
Silver Toe. Why am I goosebumping already? She haven't even started singing.
We're 1,000 miles from comfort. We have traveled land and sea. But as long as you are with me, there's no place I'd rather be. With every step we take, closer to the love, showing so casually. La da 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 da. Waiting for never sunset, get you another. Switch up the battery. If you gave me a chance, I would take it.
Oh. Oh, good Lord. Oh, Lord.
Silvertone. There was something just not quite there.
Rita? So here's my thing. If you're singing the gospel choir, why don't you come and show us what gospel's really about? Because a girl band doing a gospel record to me is much more interesting than a girl band singing another pop song.
We have a better song.
Why don't you come back and show us what 5 gospel singers could do with a song? Would you do that?
Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't you let it be? Leave it alone. Why don't
Stella, we're just talking about compromise, you know. Is it right as a Christian to compromise regardless of, you know, is that a good enough excuse to compromise?
No, there's no reason why you should compromise who you are for anybody. The Bible clearly says that every opportunity there is to preach the gospel, and they had a big opportunity. In fact, one straight away. Imagine if they weren't given another opportunity to come back. That would have been it, you know. And we're taught by our man of God, Pastor Chris, that everything happens spiritually, everywhere. That there's no joke in the spiritual realm. That everything happens spiritually before it happens physical. So this was an opportunity for them to really showcase who they are as gospel singers and as Christians and what the gospel is all about. So it was very shameful that, you know, they had to be sent back.
They had to be reminded by non-Christians that you are Christian, you're a Christian group, and you should come and show us what you truly are.
Yeah, like when we were talking before, when this video was going on, you spoke about them. Imagine that if they hadn't, for instance,
if they had gone through, if the song secular music had gone through for the duration of the competition, they would have had to stick with secular music, whereas these are gospel singers.
Yeah, so it was actually a good thing that they got ashamed, and it's a good thing that they had to be reminded and they had to come back and prove themselves. This is possibly God wanted them.
It's a wake-up call to everyone out there who's thinking, I'm a gospel artist, but does gospel music really thrive? Should I, you know...
Yeah, should I compromise with them? Should I not?
It's not worth
fit
it.
In? No.
It's not worth it. My message to, you know, us as Christians here is that we should always, you know, be ourselves. If you're a Christian, stay a Christian, no matter what it is, because we have a gospel, and if you truly believe in the gospel, then regardless of what you think the next person is going to think, we've been compelled. You know, the Bible tells us that we should go forth and preach the gospel. And by the way, Pastor Chris has been telling us Jesus is coming soon. The signs are there, out there. So if you're a Christian, how else, you know, will the message be preached?
That's why we have all of this now. Technology, TV, networks. Like, you can go forth and show what God has put in you. This gospel, that the word of God is true, that Jesus is coming soon.
As a singer, you know, sing it.
It's like he says that if you're ashamed of him now, he will be ashamed of you.
If you are, you know, in your workplace, talk about Jesus. Whatever it is that you do, you know, talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Stella. It's been interesting having you back on the program. Yeah. Well, that's the much we can take today. Until same time next week, it's goodbye from Stella and I. Bye now.